So next up, podcast listeners, we have the dumbest bill in America. And do we have a lead up, Mr. Assistant Producer? Actually, he's the producer. Here it is. And it's the dumbest bill in America, and it is mathematics equity in Virginia. That's right. The state of Virginia wants mathematics equity in public schools. And so they are going to, in order to implement that, they're going to end accelerated math classes, all in the name of equity. So in other words, if you are in school, K to 12, and you have a child who is, for whatever reason, very advanced in math, they just get it, right? And we all know those people. And they want to take Algebra 2 when everybody else is still taking general math. Or they want to take geometry when everybody else is still taking general math. That wouldn't be allowed in Virginia because accelerated math is bad because it's not fair. We want equity. And so California is doing the same thing. And so we have a clip from the policy director for Virginia's Department of Education. Her name is Leslie Sale, and she's going to try to explain what they're trying to achieve. Tell me if you know what she's saying. Here it is.
This is about how and where graduation requirements can operate as a lever for equity. First, we're going to start with one of our more conceptual discussions, which is the possibility of consolidating the standard and advanced studies diploma. And hopefully this discussion will allow us to think through how we maintain a rigorous academic foundation in a way that's really equitably serving the needs and aspirations of all of Virginia's learners.
Sorry, I have to laugh at that because what she's saying is that everybody should have the same results, right? The outcomes should be the same. And it's not until 11th and 12th grade that you can take advanced courses in math in Virginia with this new policy and new rule with the Virginia Department of Education. So then from K to 10th grade, you have to take all the same math classes and no one can excel. No one can do well. So I guess the next time I get an airplane, what I should ask the pilot is, hey, have you been educated with math equity? Because if you have been, I'm a lot more secure with your piloting.
This is the soft bigotry of low expectations. And we've seen it here in the state of Maryland. We had a equity bill a couple years ago. It was named Kerwin, and it was after Dr. Brett Kerwin. And I remember questioning him in committee, and I said, well, do you want to lift up all schools and lift up all students to a higher standard, or do you want to close the achievement gap? His answer was, I wanted to close the achievement gap. So this is closing the achievement gap by holding good students back. And it's all about equal outcome. It's all based around equity, which is based around Marxism.
Sure, because they don't believe in merit. Merit is when, and look, it is true that some kids are just smarter than others. It's also true that some adults are smarter than others. You know what's a good time to learn that is in school, because in K to 12, because then what you realize is, hey, you know what? I might not be as smart as this kid on the other side of the class in science, but I might be smarter than him in history. So what I want to do is I want to learn from this kid who's really smart in science, and I want to improve myself knowing that that's an area that I need to improve in. But no, that's not a recognition now in public education. Now it's like, it's not fair that the guy who's really good in science is better than you, so we're going to hold you all back and dumb it down.
Well, it's probably not, the left doesn't understand that people are just not equal in every aspect. You know, the guy that's good in science, probably not real good at gym class. Or maybe he is. Look, you take any group of people.
Usually the guys that were good in science were not good in gym class. Let's face that. I mean, come on.
Look, you take any group of people. It doesn't make a difference where it is, or, you take any high school graduation, big body like the General Assembly here in Maryland. You cut that down, left, right, diagonal. You divide that group up. And there's going to be disparities in each group. One group's going to be taller. One group's going to be fatter. One group is going to be smaller. Maybe one group is richer.
One group is better looking.
Yeah. I mean, and you can't have...
How is that fair?
...equal outcomes, nor should we even strive for that. Imagine
we should have equity in the way people look, So we should slash up someone's face who's really good looking. And it's like, there you go. Now we've got equity.
Well, we should celebrate people's individualism because we all don't have the same skill set, and that's what should be celebrated. Look, if we had if everybody was an attorney, that'd make it really hard to get your car fixed. So, there's individualism out there, and that's how
you would get your car fixed. It would just cost a lot.
Well, there wouldn't be anyone to fix it. There'd just be a bunch of people to talk about it.
So speaking of teachers under this dumbest bill in America, there's a teacher that lost herself in Los Angeles. And we have ABC7 Los Angeles News reporting about this teacher, where a police officer stopped the teacher who was driving her car, and she, of course, was using her cell phone. And that is a distraction. Let's face it, there are tons of fatalities every year when people are using their cell phones while driving. So the officer was just doing this routine stop. He was going to probably write her just a warning, and then she went off. And this is a teacher, ladies and gentlemen, and someone who's supposed to be promoting equity. And it's California, where equity is really important in their public education system because they're doing the same thing as Virginia. You won't believe what this teacher says. We have that clip, and here it is.
The interaction quickly turning confrontational as the woman questions the officer's motives for the stop.
You can't be on your cell phone while you're driving.
I wasn't on my phone. I was recording you because you scared me.
You can't use your cell phone while you're recording.
You.
May I have your driver's license?
It's at my apartment.
The deputy eventually telling the woman she too is being recorded.
You're threatening to kill me and my son. Can you give me
the well, I'll tell you what, you keep smiling, you're on camera.
The deputy is wearing a body cam. The LA County Sheriff's Department is in the midst of rolling out body cams to all of its deputies, but this officer has yet to receive one. He's wearing a personal body cam.
Yeah, so can you believe that? So this deputy bought his own body cam because he was so concerned about people like this teacher who was recording him with her phone. She had it in her hand anyway, because that's why she was stopped, because she was using it, recording him saying that he was a racist because he stopped her. And what else did she say? I mean, just some crazy, crazy stuff. And I thought there was supposed to be equity in education. If this is the kind of teacher that's teaching your children, and I think increasingly there are more teachers like this. I know they're not all this way, but increasingly more are. We are in trouble as a nation.
Well, my question is, why isn't anybody making a claim to go after her teaching license? I mean, it's pretty obvious that this lady has some bias in her own opinions.
Yes.
I mean, for this to come out, and there should be no cause from the left at all to...
I'm pretty sure if you're in her math class, if she happens to teach math, and you're a white person, you're getting an F, right? Because, she is all about this.
If your parents are a cop.
Exactly. Your father's a police officer? Oh my gosh, he's a rapist and he's a murderer. She called him a murderer. That's what it was.
It said he'd been murdering her and her kids. I don't, it's just, that's crazy.
The country is losing its mind. So if you want to know someone who's bringing it all back together with systemic racism issues, and that would be Governor DeSantis of Florida. He was recently interviewed, and he really just attacks this issue. You know what? This makes me proud to be a Republican, because I have to say this. I'm not afraid of attacking this issue and taking on this issue, I should say, of systemic racism head on, about how it's complete and utter nonsense and how people have opportunities in this country, all people, that we've never had before. It's the best time ever to be alive in this country. And unfortunately, very, very few Republicans are saying this because they're terrified to talk about it because they're rhinos. And we have this clip from Governor DeSantis, and here it is.
This proposition that we are a systemically racist country. Your reaction?
Well, it's a bunch of horse manure. I mean, give me a break. This country has had more opportunity for more people than any country in the history of the world. And it doesn't matter where you trace your ancestry from. We've had people that have been able to succeed and all. And here's the problem with things like critical race theory that they're peddling. They're basically saying all our institutions are bankrupt and they're illegitimate. Okay, so how do you have a society if everything in your society is illegitimate? So it's a very harmful ideology, and I would say really a race-based version of a Marxist-type ideology. So we've banned it in our schools here in Florida. We're not going to put any taxpayer dollars to critical race theory, and we want to treat people as individuals. not as members of groups.
Unbelievable.
That
I
was
mean,
perfect.
It's finally Republican actually articulates it in a way that is understandable, but at the same time, aspirational, because we're talking about this dumbest bill in America about mathematics equity in Virginia and also in California, and all this woke education where merit doesn't matter. What matters is your race, and we're going to equalize everybody based on race, not based on merit. And here's DeSantis saying, enough already. It's horse manure.
Well, he's absolutely correct in that. Look, the thing that America is a systemically racist country, what systems are the racist ones? Look, I've asked this question a couple of times in questioning witnesses up there in Annapolis, and it goes something like this. When you have a disparity between an outcome of two ethnic groups, when is the case not racism? And I've yet to hear anyone give a coherent answer for that. And the answer is when there's evidence of racism. See, when there's evidence of racism, we're willing to stand with you and fight against it. We have a long track record of that. But you're having situations now where the left comes out because Republicans are so bad at talking about it.
Of course.
There was a recent poll that came out that said 77% of conservatives are just don't even want to deal with the issue.
DeSantis is the only one that I know that has talked about it.
Right, and they're so bad at talking about it and they don't run towards the fire. This is why the left is just clobber them over their head right now to move the agenda forward, to move the ball forward.
Because don't you agree that systemic racism, the term, is like climate change? There's no real way to measure progress. And that's what they want. They don't want progress to be made because it's immeasurable. Because climate change initially was CO2 emissions, and they're like, no, now climate change is negative emissions, and now climate change is trees, and now climate change is solar panels, and now climate change. I mean,
what always got me is that they always claim systemic racism in areas of the country where they control all the levers of power.
Right. That's a fact. That's a fact.
I mean, it's like, well, systemic racism is the greatest in the areas that they govern.
Yes.
And no one's called them out and confronted them on those issues.
That's because if we said ad nauseum on this program, they don't want school choice because they want the plantation mentality to continue. I am convinced of that. And the black Republicans that are stepping up, that are elected officials, they're talking about it. And, we need more of those people, just like we talked about previously, the lieutenant governor of North Carolina, and of course, the senator from South Carolina, the attorney general of Kentucky. So many people getting elected at high levels who are Republicans, black, and also taking on this issue. Final thoughts on the dumbest bill in America.
It's pretty dumb.
And
I hope it doesn't come here.
And that's the dumbest bill in America. And that's it for Mark and the Millennials. Thank you for joining Mark and the Millennials. This is Mark Fisher. Thank you to our producer, Christopher Hopkins. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Parler, Rumble, and our website. See you next time.